what type of comments, feedback have you been gathering thus far about this project?
We've gotten all kinds of feedback that really covers the gamut. And again, part of our effort is to make sure we have a clear understanding of what are the current land uses, how is the land being used, and then what are the potential impacts of a transmission line. So we've heard from folks about everything from current economic uses for the land, current geography of the land, potential conflicts with how the land is being used currently. All those kinds of things feed into the kind of information that we're gathering. We're still very early in the process, continuing to look at the various land uses and how the potential routes would potentially impact those land uses.
Is there kind of a common theme or common concerns that are kind of cropping up about this project?
Well, the interesting part about the routing process, of course, is it's looking at the physical line, where it goes and such. But then there's also the greater question in terms of, well, why is the project needed? What's the value? What's the benefit of that? So those are all the kinds of conversations that are taking place.
And what is the need of, benefit value of this project?
In identifying the project originally, the Regional Transmission Organization identified kind of three key benefits that come from this. First and foremost is supporting public policy issues in terms of the changing generation mix, the move toward more renewables, and how do we accommodate that. There's also the issue of ensuring that there's an economic benefit in terms of what it can do to the cost of delivered energy and transmission. And then finally there's the piece of reducing the congestion on the system. Currently, the energy landscape is changing pretty dramatically as utilities look at how they use fuel, the kinds of fuel they use. So the project is really designed to give those utilities the flexibility they need to economically meet the needs for customers.
So the center is generally supportive of transmission from the perspective of opening up new opportunities for wind development in Iowa. We see wind as bringing a host of benefits to rural stakeholders: property tax dollars, landowner payments, cleaner water, cleaner air, etc. And so wind is this great driver of economic and environmental benefits in the state, and transmission right now is really the bottleneck to being able to continue to build out our wind resources in Iowa and beyond. So one of the benefits of this line is that it opens up a market for Iowa wind into Wisconsin, which currently it's difficult to get our wind resources into Iowa. So if you think about it like opening up a new export market for one of Iowa's up-and-coming resources.
And then any particular concerns, I guess, you have with the project? Any particular concerns as it pertains to maybe the potential routing for the line and the Mississippi River crossing?
I think it's still too early to tell if we have any very specific concerns. More generally, the other side of our position is that while we're supportive of transmission and wind development, we want to make sure that it's done in a way that's really responsive to rural communities, really responsible to local environmental resources, cultural resources, etc. And so our stance is we want to make sure that the public is engaging with the transmission developers and the local agencies in charge of the line as much as possible, so that the developers and the people in charge of this project can have the best information they possibly can as they build it, so that transmission can have, the least number of negative impacts as possible, and instead mostly just bring those benefits to the state and rural communities.
And I guess, how do you feel that that process has been handled, or stakeholders? How do you feel that they've done to maybe kind of address that?
I think they're doing well so far. We've been able to sit down with other environmental groups and rural advocacy groups around the state, with the transmission developers several times, and they've been really responsive to us, getting us the information that we need and taking our input on what they should be doing around the siting of the line, how to continue to engage with the public, landowners, environmental leaders around the state. So far we really appreciate that they've been open to working with us, and we'll look forward to seeing how public engagement goes in the future.